So what are your future plans? Like, how long do you see yourselves doing this?
Oh, starting the van life, man, I've learned something. Take it day by day.
Yeah.
You know, every time you try to make plans, it does not work. It's like, if you would have asked me this question a year and a half ago, I would never think I'd be living in a van today. You know, and here we are again, right? So it's really hard. Hi, so I'm Dori.
I'm Mena.
That's Fiona.
And that's Destiny. Welcome to the inside of our van. So we're going to start with the cab area. And what was really important when we bought the van is that it had a backup camera, Bluetooth, and cruise control. Very, very important. And we weren't going to purchase the van unless it had those three things. So we installed the Scopima swivel seats ourselves, and this one was pretty easy, but this one was quite involved because we actually had to drop the handbrake so that it can glide over it. But these are essential, so it just expands our living space, and that was super, super important to us. We got this net from AliExpress, and we really love it because we can hold our Easy Cool shades up there when we're driving and when we want them out of the way. And this up here, so we have this connected. So this is a curtain rod that's connected with the cross nuts, because everything that's in the van is connected with cross nuts. We didn't want to drill holes into the van.
Before the van, we actually were living in an RV. We had a small RV, which was the Casita. And from that, we upgraded to the Escape, which is another fiberglass fifth wheel. We said, you know what, if we had something smaller, it would be easier just to park in front of our house or park anywhere, like on the street, stealth camping, or, you know, it would just give us more options.
Now, when we want to keep it warm, we have the Webasto heater down here. Now it runs off the fuel from our gas tank, and we have the thermostat on off button right here. We also have some plugs, and buried down there we have a fire extinguisher, which probably shouldn't be buried, but we also use this area to store a lot of stuff, so it just works out that way. Now on this side we have two more 110 volt plugs. We have some USB ports, and this is the light switch for this entryway area. On the other side we have another motion window, and we have a mirror of the same window, one on either side. Now this cabinet is a section cabinet from IKEA that we adapted, and the reason why we chose this cabinet is it kind of fit our fridge perfectly. Now this is a NovaCool fridge. It's 4.3 cubic feet, and we had to make sure that we elevated it by 1 inch. We were supposed to leave 1 inch at the top, but we didn't have the space, but that's okay because we created a vent at the top and we made a cutout in the back so that it can vent, because, you know, it's always needing to vent. And also keeping in mind that it's a compressor fridge, which means we don't have to be level for it to work. So because we adapted it for our needs, we had to kind of cut the cabinet door a little bit. And this is our cupboard where we keep our plates, pots, frying pans, and Instant Pot. We also have a kettle back there and a blender. We primarily do our cooking with the Instant Pot, but we also have an induction cooktop, and the induction cooktop, so it's right here, it's kind of in its container, and that runs off of our batteries. This is our lovely handy dandy Costco laundry sink, which we love. The fact that it is so deep in such a small space is amazing. We actually figured that we could wash my hair in this sink, and we've done it already once, and it's amazing. I'll show you what's underneath. We have a curtain kind of covering the mess on the outside, but we have cabinet doors on the inside. 7-liter Aquitainer jug, her poopy bags, garbage bags, and then some Lysol wipes here. The other thing about this sink that's great is that if you have muddy or sandy feet, you can clean them right out there, or anything else. So eventually what we would like to do is we would like to have a table that kind of comes down, and that's going to be our outdoor cooking area, cooking surface. But for now, we just have it covered with this curtain. This was asked recently by a friend of ours, and they said, how can you make so many sacrifices? But we don't see it that way. We see it as a trade-off. So you're trading luxury for freedom. Really, that's what it is. So you have a little bit less comfort, but you have a lot more freedom. Freedom in where you go, freedom in how long you stay, freedom in, just picking up and leaving anytime you want. It's just freedom. So this is our open concept living space. It's kind of a dining room, living room, and also our bed. And to start with, we have a light switch here for those 4 lights. And we have our water pump switch. We have another 110 volt switch and some USB ports over here. And these benches, so the bed bases, the bench bases, and the cabinet frames. So all the frames here are all made of aluminum. So aluminum angle and aluminum tubes. And we glued onto that frame 1/4 inch Baltic birch plywood. We put a veneer on it and then we varnished it. For the benches, we put as our bed base and bench base a 1/2 inch Baltic birch plywood, and that makes our mattress base. Now, this whole side is our electrical, and we kind of have grates on top of all our electrical components. So our charge controller, our fuse box, our inverter, and our 200 amp hour lithium batteries. So on top of that, we can put all of our heavy stuff. So that means our extension cord, our hoses, our toolbox, anything that's heavy is stored low. We eventually want to get a lagoon table to kind of fit right here, but we're not at that stage yet, so that this will be our dining area. And when we want to make the bed, we found this funky little way to do it. So these are these little tracks. I'm not exactly sure what they're called, but they get you out of the mud if you're stuck in the mud. They get you out of the snow. If you're stuck in the snow, you just put it under your wheel. Also, we could stack them. We have 6 of them so that we could level the van. That's use number 2. And our third use for it is that becomes slats for the bed. So these cushions fit perfectly in between, and that's what creates our large bed. On this side, we have an isotemp hot water heater, and what it does is it takes coolant from the engine and it runs it through the hot water heater to heat up the water that's in there, and we'll be parked for 2-3 days and we'll still have hot water. So it's just a great way of recycling that energy. And then right here we have a 30-gallon freshwater tank. And besides that, we don't store much in this area. So we have our laundry that's on top of the freshwater tank. I have some yoga mats, and that's pretty much it that we store under there.
We have, well, of course, the YouTube. We have the Airbnb rentals. So we actually do Airbnb, but not short term, we do long term. And the other thing is we have a consulting business. And and YouTube. So these 3 things, they pretty much keep us on the road.
Yeah. Our ceiling is faux tin tile that's been glued onto FRP, which is fiberglass reinforced plastic. So it's super, super lightweight. And then we installed 10 LED lights that are in 3 different zones. So we have a zone in the back, we have 4 over here, and then 4 in the front. Our cabinets, we decided not to put actual doors on them because that just adds weight, and we wanted to have some airflow also because condensation is always a consideration in a small space like this, like an RV. So we decided on these sheer curtains, and this is pretty much how it is. So we have some blankets up here, our clothes, and they're all pretty much stored in these bins, and because there's a lip here, they don't really go anywhere. The only exception to that is up front, but I keep this paper towel here to prevent anything back there from falling forward. And I have these bins, and these bins aren't going anywhere because of the lip once again. And then on this side, I just have a grate. And once again, that prevents the things up here from sliding off of the plastic bins. Welcome to the bathroom. Now on this side is the toilet, and it's a composting toilet. Right now I have a cover on it because I think it's very unsightly and I like to keep it that way. Otherwise, we have this Scadis pegboard that I got at IKEA, and we have one on each side. So if we need to, for example, dry clothing, we could dry them here on the line while we're driving. This is our shower pan, and unfortunately, because we haven't had an opportunity to dump the garbage in recycling, or we haven't found a space for it, our garbage and recycling is living here. This is the shower head, and we just still have to rig up our shower curtain. We haven't set it up here yet, but that's going to be the next thing that we do. We had the shower pan custom built in Quebec. This is our gray tank for when we're taking our shower. Now, we're not taking 30-minute showers. They're really, really quick showers. It's just to get yourself clean really quickly. And there's a hole that goes directly down onto the ground. Once that's in place, we just pop that up, and then that's where the water drains down. This is a mixer that sets the temperature for you. This is to vent our freshwater tank, so open and close. And this is where we fill our freshwater tank. This is our Van Destiny, and she's a 2019 Ford Transit cargo van, high roof, extended length, and it's a 350, which doesn't mean anything is souped up in the transmission. All it means is that the suspension is a little bit more robust. So we also have motion windows on both sides. We made the solar rack out of aluminum tubes, and we have a 320 watt solar panel up there in between our two max air fans. Otherwise, on the other side of the van, this is part of our electrical setup, and this allows us to plug into shore power if we're at a friend's house or if we're at a campground.
What do you guys think the biggest downside to van life is?
Well, as you saw in the back of the van, we've had some trouble around here finding a place to dump our garbage and recycling, so it's building up and building up and building up. So sometimes that's not such a big problem, but in smaller areas, more rural, then it becomes a problem.
We were having this discussion yesterday because we wanted to make a video like 5 things that are bad about van life, and honestly, we had a hard time finding.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, there's a lot of negative, but those negatives could be positives. Like one of them is sometimes you don't have cell phone reception, but that could be a good thing. Grab a book once in a while.